Hi everyone, I'm Gemma,
I'm Matty.
and this is Around the Block, a brand new podcast all about stammering, brought to you by STAMMA, aka the British Stammering Association.
Hello again, all. If you listened last week, this is just a reminder that was an introductory episode to the podcast that was recorded in February of 2020. This episode is recorded in the present day, in mine and Gemma's separate homes and over Zoom. We'll bring you up to date with our lives and offer an insight into life with a stammer under lockdown and mental health. Gemma,
Hello.
how have you been this past 9 million months?
I've just been great. I've just loved every second. I've loved every Zoom call. Just living out of one room, working out of one room. I've had my best life. No, I'm kidding. It's been crap.
So when we last spoke, things were very, very different. We were both in happy employment. We were both loving it, you know?
We were living the dream.
Yeah. Oh, so much. Things have changed for us both. Would you like to tell me a little bit about what this last year has been like, sort of employment-wise?
Yes. Well, no, I wouldn't, but yeah. Yeah, it's really weird listening to that episode because it doesn't feel like that long ago, but I can't believe it's been over a year. But yeah, I was working in TV, and I think like many of us in the TV industry kind of got forgotten about, let's say, and I think it's already hard to find work. Everyone's self-employed, kind of like you live job to job. So obviously when TV stopped, I'm sure like everyone else, I lost my job, which had an interesting effect on me just because I found all this free time. But it was mostly just sad because everybody was working from home at this point. I didn't really get a chance to say goodbye to my team and my friends. But I mean, hey, there's worse things that have happened than me and my job. But yeah, what about you? I know that you obviously, in fact, I won't say. I'll let you say.
So I also lost my job. So previously, I was a director of my own startup, the long since past Street Bites. We were very, very affected by this pandemic. It proved that as much as we believed in the model of Street Bites and we thought that we'd planned for every single eventuality, we actually hadn't planned for every single eventuality.
What, you didn't foresee this? I mean,
honestly, it never once occurred to us. Just how stupid are we? So after a fairly long outro, we took a pretty rough decision to close Street Bites in November of 2020, which sucked. It did. It absolutely sucked. We worked my co-founder and I, we did 11, 12-hour days for this company. We built it up from genuinely nothing. And then suddenly, it's just gone from you. Like, I really empathized with what you said in terms of just the hardest thing about the job going in telly was the loss of that sense of team around you, and that is something that I would like to come back to. But obviously, it played out for us in a fairly different way because we were a startup and just a very, very small team. I went from seeing my co-founder every single day until one day, it must have been early March, when we went into our shared office, and there was just no one in there. Like, it had been it had been beginning to drop off a little bit, and then there was just one weekend when every company simultaneously decided to make all their staff from home. And Neil and I just looked at each other and were like, I guess we should probably do this again. And I literally, I've not seen him in person since
really?
then. It's just bizarre. But that is a huge shift.
Yeah.
Huge shift.
Yeah.
And
gosh, wow.
look, and to tell you the truth, it's quite lonely, and it's made the last 9 months really quite lonely. I know that you went from an incredibly high action workplace, which, by the way, for someone who stammers to have made a career in that, I mean, props to you for that, because that's
Thank you.
the very thought of that is causing me stress. So,
or like
just
the idea of having to talk on talkback on a radio, like in TV, is literally makes my blood still go up.
I mean, how did you handle that?
I mean, yeah, I feel like in TV you've got to be like quite out there. I think even behind the scenes you've got to be very loud because that's just the way everyone is. So I mean, the worst job I've done in TV, not the worst job. I had the best time. I worked at I worked at Wimbledon for 3 years on the broadcast team, and we have to be on radios, and literally the dread every year of going back to do that job, like, and you'd have to say your name, hi, it's Gemma, Gem to Beth, are you with X crew or blah blah, and I would absolutely hate it. And there was one thing I had to say, and I just couldn't get the word out. Like, I literally couldn't get the word out, so I just cut off the radio like mid sentence, which is what I do in everyday life. If I can't get a word out, I just end the sentence.
Just quit. That's
yeah
fair.
yeah
I
but
mean, Jen, like
you said, I feel like there's just such a buzz about it. There's such a buzz, and I think that buzz, I mean, I know I'm fortunate because I'm coming from a covert get your stammering terms right. I'm coming from a covert point of view, but that buzz and that energy is a thing that actually gets me gets me through it, gets me able to say words, because I am quite like but definitely I thrive off being part of a team. So yeah, it was incredibly hard to go from a team to just me. And I mean, I live in Kingston with my dad on a busy high street, so as soon as you step out the door it's busy, like everyone's like around, of course, it's London, and my mum, God, I hate saying where she lives. My mum lives in we could be here all night.
I've got all night.
Wales, I said it.
Heard of that place? I've heard of that.
Has anyone heard of that? Not the animal, the actual place. I mean, sorry, I was just trying to compare just going from that to somewhere which is in the middle of the country and no one is around. There's no internet, there's no signal. So, I mean, I was pretty much left to my own devices. So yeah, that was definitely hard to adjust to. I feel like with so much time on your hands, all you have time to do is think and be anxious, but yeah, and not really have a clue what's going on.
And so, have you found that this time apart from that sort of social experience of a team, have you found that it's made your stammer a little bit more severe because you're sort of almost out of practice of speaking?
Yeah,
same here, and I think it's really interesting.
But I think
because I
was just going to say, don't you think that's because of how anxious we all are now? I don't know about you.
I mean, that is certainly a part of it. Up until this, I hadn't thought of my stammer as something that requires practice. I hadn't thought that practicing it, just utilising my voice, would increase my fluency. And I certainly think that I have come to be aware of that now. And it is something that changed whilst being unemployed and just not seeing enough people. I have spent the majority of lockdown in my house with my housemates who all have worked throughout this, and they just lock themselves away in their rooms from 8 till 6:30, and just that lack of interaction has certainly meant that I'm just out of the habit of speaking, and therefore sort of more into the habit of stammering, I think.
That's so interesting. Like,
Yeah.
your stammer is something that needs to be like, not your stammer, sorry, your voice is something that needs to be exercised. Like, you use it or you lose it, kind of thing.
Use it or you lose it. Feels
Yeah.
extremely apt for this, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you have that little bit of fluency, you've just got to go with it. Just take as much as you can get. But don't you also think that's a confidence thing? Is that you're out of practice of going for interviews or talking to people who stammer, so you're just not in touch with it?
So I certainly think that there's something in that, and that the isolation that lockdown has sort of forced upon everyone certainly has meant that I personally haven't felt very connected to people who I know who stammer, like, just to people who know me for my stammer.
I mean, I think it's really important what you said about you not regularly keeping in contact with people who stammer, because not I mean, this is like the first year of my life where I haven't been to a stammering support group since I was like 21. That was the time when I like became open about my stammer, and stammering support groups played a massive role in me being okay with it. I mean, I met you there, I met loads of my friends there, and it's that lack of connection, because that's how I learned that stammering was okay, because I met so many people there who were out there and taught me that it's okay to be like loud and bubbly and still have a stammer, if that makes sense, because the media representation, as we know, is like the o- opposite. And that loud and proudness, because I was at my mum's and I had no friends around me who stammered, no one knew that I stammered, like, her her friends and stuff. I felt myself when I stammered. I felt that feeling of being ashamed again, kind of creeping back in, like slowly. And I didn't really realize actually until now I've come home again, and talking to you. So yeah, it just shows you what an integral part of stammering, or any kind of emotional I I issue that we all suffered during lockdown, whether that be anxiety or mental health or depression. It's that connection with other people who experience the same things as you. Like, I mean, I saw the BSA Facebook page. I don't know if anyone, if everyone knows what that is, but it's a place where people have a stammer can obviously talk about their experiences and share their day, whether it's been good or bad. And I saw a lot more traffic on that page of people saying that I'm finding it really hard. So I think yeah, 100% not having that connection with people who stammer definitely has an impact, which is why it's so good to do this with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault anything that you said there. I think it's almost impossible to underplay the importance of having a community around you. Yeah, and the stammering support network that you've built and we are both a part of is absolutely huge for so many people. And look, and that we have been able to keep in touch with our friends and our family, but it has been entirely just as if we are recording this now. It's just been entirely via Zoom. So, in amongst all this doom and gloom, I actually come to you with quite good news. In fact, it's really good some timing for we are recording this episode.
Hang on. Good news.
Supposedly it does exist. it's good that we're recording this now and not 2-3 weeks ago, but I have a job. It's still in the startup world.
Yay!
It's for, I know, it's good, right? It's for
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm trying to think of like of a kind of word efficient way to describe it, and if you can figure it out also, then then help me out, because I find that I just use 100 words. It's a environmentally sustainable finance tech company where they have launched a card that allows you to save money on environmentally responsibly produced items, be that food, clothing, or anything. Idea, I
Amazing.
think.
That's so
Yeah.
good. Well, it must be so weird for you because before you got this job, though, you were still working in one room, which I think a lot of people listening to this can relate to. Like,
Yeah.
how do you do that? How do you get out of bed each day and work in your room? And like, I just can't imagine that. It must be the most isolating thing.
I mean, now now that the job has started, it does give me a reason to do it. You know, during the job hunt months, like it was really tricky. It was really tricky to get myself up. I took a quite drastic step where I bought a really old fashioned alarm clock. Those like, you know, the ones with like round face and the two little sort of ears that are just like extraordinarily shrill, because I was so sick of waking up in the morning and just physically not being able to drive. Like I was quite depressed.
Mm, mm.
Um, and so I thought, you know what? Like I'm going to scare myself awake, essentially, with this like just a horrendous sound. And so I put it as far away as I could. And I'll tell you this, Gemma. I'll tell you this for free. It worked an absolute treat
Did
because
it
I would
really?
wake up. It worked a treat. I'd wake up 5 minutes or so prior to the alarm going off because I was genuinely terrified of the alarm going off. And
That's
I would wake
brilliant.
up. I would wake up, and my heart would be going like a million miles an hour because because there was one time I didn't. One time it went off, and it's like genuinely like scarring.
I feel like your girlfriend hates you.
Yeah, I mean,
She'll be like,
my
turn that
my
on.
entire house hated me. It was so
Yeah.
loud. It was so
Oh
loud.
gosh.
But I think that it touches on quite an interesting point. That one of the signs of just how lethargic, just being unemployed and lockdown and this last year,
Mm, yeah,
just
it's such a
it's tiring.
struggle to motivate yourself every day. Like, and then you feel forced to get something productive done, and then you put so much pressure on yourself, must get something done, and then you end up like thinking about it so much that you just don't get anything done, and then
Yeah,
and then you chastise yourself when you sit in front of the TV. It's like you just can't win, you know?
and some like just a habit that I noticed in myself in the act of me applying for jobs is I would almost downplay the skills that I do have, and mentally I think I would sort of upsell my stammer, and so I would think that okay, no, that I I physically cannot apply for this job because I do not have the skills for it. I am not qualified for it, which in a lot of cases was patently like untrue.
Mm,
But I kind of trick myself into making myself feel smaller, feeling
mm,
unwanted, feeling worthless. But a part of that, I think, was I was I would use my stammer as an excuse for that. I would say
mm,
I can't do this entry level job that I'm well over, that I'm like that I definitely could,
yeah.
because I can't, because I can't make myself clear. I can't be confident in myself. And it's interesting how the circumstances around you, the depression that's brought on by unemployment and lockdown, really bring back these anxieties around my abilities and the effect of my stammer on my abilities, which haven't been as prevalent up to this point before. Just wondered if you had experienced anything similar.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I see good communication skills in the job description, I'm like, oh, I'm out. Sorry.
Yeah, it's terrifying, that, isn't it?
And
the C word.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely feel the same. But I realised that, like, this whole time I'd been feeling down about not having a job and I'm not good enough and I will never get a job again, is that, like, how much my self-esteem was tied to my job. Like, if I'm, do you know what I mean? If I have a good job, I'm working hard, my boss is praising me, like, that so much was feeding into my sense of self, and it really challenged me to push through. Like, I'm finally in a place now, it's taken a whole year, to be comfortable with being unemployed. It's almost like a shame, like I'm not good enough, and which is ridiculous because there's so many people in the world. Do you know what I mean? We're all in the same boat. Do you know what I mean? I still feel like everybody is okay, fine, and I'm not. Like, it's just me. I'm the one who can't do a job interview. And it's such a load of it's just such a load of crap.
And
so yeah.
And so how much of that do you think stems from your anxiety around stammering, do you think?
Oh my God, absolutely. Everything. Although, do you know, actually, the first time in probably years, I had to introduce myself today. And she said, "Hi, I'm Georgia." And then I do that thing where I go, "Hi, nice to meet you." And I don't say my own name. That's my way of getting out of it. And it's so annoying because then that person goes, "And what's your name?" And I'm like, oh God, I have to freaking say my name. So then I just said, oh, by the way, I have a stammer. I can say everything but my name, like a joke. And then I proceeded to stammer and said my own name. And it's the first time where I didn't feel that anxious, like, feeling of dread in my stomach. Do you know what I mean? Like, I usually feel like my whole body is like electric and I'm so anxious, but this time, and I was like, oh my God, have I got it? Do you know what I mean? Have I reached it? I probably haven't. Next week I'll be back to being on edge again. But I thought that was such a win that I had, like, despite this whole year and feeling very, like, disconnected, that I'd managed to, stay calm.
So you've touched on the area that I was wanting to move on to next, and look, that was a top class link because we are pros, we absolutely are. But
oh yeah,
you've touched on just what it is that has helped you through this period. What kinds of things, big or small, that you've done that have helped. So wondered if there were any others of that type that you found have helped you to be cheerier.
I mean, a big one, and I think this 100% helps with my anxiety and stammer, is meditation. And I was doing that pretty much every day for the whole year. And I know everyone's like, oh, mindfulness, blah blah, like, you've got to light some candles and say some weird stuff and chant.
No, I didn't say anything. I didn't.
Yes,
say
you
anything.
did. I can see your face, Matty, judging me. No, I'm kidding. I mean, my mum, she's like, oh, so mindful. But it genuinely does work. Like, of course, it's so hard. But it's amazing just to notice. I can just stand back and observe my experience. Just sat down every day. I know where I'm tense. I know that I'm feeling anxious, where I'm feeling anxious. I mean, and that definitely helped. And just writing down my emotions every day as well. it's just that bringing self-awareness to your experience. And I also, right, if I've got a job interview, I'm really, really anxious about my job interview, which before I would keep it all inside. I would never, and I think there's a power
Yeah,
to
it's
having
hugely
it
important.
like, yeah, just writing it down. And then also you can look back. You can look back and say, oh, this is something that I did that day. That was something like massive that you've managed to do, something that you're really, really anxious about. So yeah, that was definitely my number one thing. What about you?
I mean, that was just really just so wholesome and just great to hear.
Oh,
Mine is
thank you.
mine isn't quite so wholesome. Look, I developed sort of three things which I found have really, really helped me. One of which is just that really early on, I just decided that I was just going to quit smoking.
Wow,
And I'm coming up on a year, and
that's
look,
amazing.
I don't know if that's made a difference or not, like to how I'm feeling, but inside it has, and is linked into probably the biggest thing that's changed, and it's a big change from me prior to lockdown, and I think certainly has made me more confident in myself. And this is going to sound like just a ridiculous brag, but my housemate and I, Andrew, we built an outside gym.
Oh
We
my
went
god,
and
that's
we
sick.
sourced. Well, no, it was like we went and we bought really, really big planks of wood, and we just made it. We just
Oh my
made
god,
it
that's
with our
amazing.
bare hands.
It's like
Genuinely didn't know that I had it in me,
we
but
can't go to the gym, but we can make a gym.
just make it from scratch. And just the ability to just do exercise in our garden has
Mm.
been great. And it's a really good way. And this, I think, is where it links back to stammering, is after a day when I just sit in my room and stare at a screen and I don't communicate with anybody at all. But temptation is just to have dinner and go to bed and just continue to not communicate. Exercising with a housemate or all the housemates, like it really pushes you to talk to people, and it really pushed me just to use my voice again. And I certainly think that helped put me in the habit of speaking.
Mm.
So yeah,
And
um,
do you feel like your stammer is more prevalent when you're exercising?
um, I'm gonna sound like the most horrible gym buff lad for saying this, but like,
Ugh, such a gym boy.
but at the end of a big set, when
Oh
I'm very,
god.
very out of
I
look,
can't believe Matty just said
you
that. Oh, because I
you
bench so
asked.
much.
Uh,
How much do you bench?
that this is not what we're talking about. um, my point was, at the end of a big set when I'm out of breath, yeah, my speech, my fluency can go a bit up and down. But anyway, so yeah,
Mm.
I've certainly found that has made a huge difference to me, and that has really helped me through. That makes me feel good, and just gives a sense of achievement in a time period when that feeling of achievement has been really, really lacking.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so yeah,
Yeah,
um,
you're so right. There's nothing like ec- e- exercise, and it's, I mean, going for long walks is something I never did. I never went for a long walk. Whereas now, if I'm feeling very anxious about something, like I know I'm gonna have to introduce myself next week or blah blah, I will actually just go for a walk and I'll think about it. Like I'll actually be in the moment of thinking about it whilst going for like a long mindful walk, and that's something I never used to do. And I hope that's something that I continue, and I hope that the gym the gym is something that you continue. That sounded quite weird, didn't it? If
did a
you
little
want to continue,
bit.
okay, only if you want to continue doing the gym.
Yeah. I mean, that certainly feels like a good time to wrap up, considering that we've sort of descended into madness. We've rambled on for, God knows, 30, 35 minutes or so. Yes, so have you enjoyed, Gemma?
Yes, absolutely. I've loved talking about stammering again. It's been a year.
It has been a year. It has been a very, very long year. As this episode is all about mental health, there is a web chat, a helpline, and an email support service available at stammer.org. So please do not hesitate to use any of those if you need it.
Yep. And on our next episode, we'll be talking about jobs and Zoom, doom and gloom. So hopefully we'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.